This video is about the power of effective prompting for English teachers, for the EPIC teachers. And there are different approaches to prompt engineering. So let's try to figure out what it is and what are the best strategies for us, right? And let's find out together. So first of all, I'm not going to be really presenting any specific AI chatbot or website or any specific platform. Like we know that there are many different platforms which both teachers and students are using. So ChatGPT and Claude are the main two chatbots that we have included in this module, but obviously you've heard about Gemini by Google and Copilot by Microsoft, which is actually using ChatGPT. There is also a Canadian AI platform called Cohere, and there is another one, very powerful, Perplexity, that are all really interesting and highly recommended for you to test and experiment. In any case, prompting can be approached by different strategies. And for those of you who are not really excited about this prospect of writing very long, very detailed prompts, you can actually decide to go minimalistic. You can really just tell the tool what you need really quickly. I need an exam. I need an idea for an activity. I need an exercise for this list of vocabulary items or something like that. Really minimalistic. But then you really need to go to one of the tools that AI powered, but they're created for English teachers. And there are more tools. This is just a short list. I will be adding some more suggestions. So if you don't know where to begin with prompting, right? Because essentially looking at a chatbot can be a little bit confusing, like what do you say, right? You can go to a more specialized tool. But if you are up for a challenge and you want to actually become more proficient with your prompting skills, right? Because prompts will sometimes make a difference, right? Good prompts will result in better results, right? And you can I still recommend using several platforms to compare between them. And again, Claude and ChatGPT are the platforms that I'm paying for, but there are other free ones like Gemini, Copilot, Cohere, Perplexity that I always recommend to my colleagues, even to my students to examine, to check out. So let's briefly discuss the power of effective prompting for educators. And you see, you can start from just a very short request or task, and that's it. And get an really sometimes inappropriate or bad or like lower quality result from AI. Because the more details you give it, the more it knows you and your context and your style of teaching, your students, your context of the lesson plan, of the country where you are. The more details you can provide, the better the outcome. So less effective, right? We have a very short prompt. It's not going to give you good results. More specific, more detailed prompt will result in better outcome. So what are the most basic prompting strategies that I recommend and I share with my students again, but obviously I hope teachers are also using them. So especially if you have some kind of task in mind, like for example, exam writing, and you already have a template of a good exam or something that you've used in the past, and you want to use the same type of question, the same structure. Maybe you want to align the text to be the same length, more or less, the same level. So having a draft of a prompt that you can reuse in the future for a similar task is really powerful. So I always recommend to start with an initial draft of your prompt. And even though these tools, they save the history of your prompts, it's always good to have like a backup in your Google Drive. So why not create a Google Doc where you can actually create your library of prompts and then use those prompts in different tools, right? So rather than think about one particular AI website, you can actually have a document in your folder, which is about really good prompts that you can test with different platforms, right? This is one piece of advice that I'm suggesting you. So another step is step number 2 is after you have your own initial task, context, idea, there's always a way to make the prompt better, right? To tweak it, to add in more context, more details. So it's going to be a process. It's a dialogue. It's a conversation with the chat. You can actually make it better through lots of iterations and keep fine-tuning it towards your goals. So what is prompt engineering? I don't know if you are familiar with the term. I believe you've heard it already, but just in case, there's literally it's been a buzzword, and there are lots of articles and tutorials and courses about it. So basically, when people talk about prompt engineering, they talk about writing the strategy to write a good prompt. And the 4 key elements of a good prompt usually include a role, right, or an identity of the speaker. So do you want ChatGPT to behave as you, or as a student, or as a researcher, or as somebody else, or like whatever creative person you want it to be? You can actually appoint it a role, right? Either a profession or an actor or a historic figure or anyone you can imagine. The second part of the prompt needs to include, it doesn't have to be in the same order, but it needs to be somewhere in the prompt. You need to give it enough context, right? What kind of situation you're in, what kind of students you have, what kind of institution, what kind of course you're teaching. The more information you provide for this particular prompt, the better. And then you obviously need to be very specific about the task. The more details you can give it, the better. And then additional requirements and instructions, which may be related to the format or the use of numbers. Do you like the numbers with the, I don't know, with the, or bullet points, or kind of highlighted, whether you want AI to use emojis or avoid those. So all kinds of little tweaks. When it comes to the tone, again, the same person can have different tones for different situations. So what kind of tone are you looking for each specific task? So it's important to mention. Otherwise, ChatGPT will, or another tool will just use its maybe default tone if you kind of picked the tone of your choice, of your liking in the settings. But if not, there is this robotic tone that we can all recognize already, right? And of course, the more personalization, the better. So you will try to make your prompt really personalized, that can meet your individual needs. And sometimes it's hard to just, extract all this information out of your brain, your intuition. Sometimes it's really not something that comes actually easily. So there are a few tweaks that I will suggest for you to try. So let's go. First of all, how do you explain ChatGPT who you are and what's your voice and tone? And like sometimes we have different voices for different situations. Sometimes we teach different courses, and maybe you speak a little bit differently with your Trump CC students as opposed to advanced too. I don't know. So my suggestion, and this is the process I've done myself, and it's been really helpful. Again, open a new Google Doc and write down all your different roles or personas, right? It could be according to the course that you're teaching, if you're teaching different levels. It could be even your other academic roles, whether it's coordinating something, a level, or whether it's doing research. Maybe you're doing your PhD research and you need a completely different set of rules and kind of thing that you want the AI tool to know about you. Very nice way to actually discover your own voice, I will also share it here, is all of us have taught on Zoom. We can extract the transcript of any of our 2-hour lessons or lectures if we have those. And based on this transcript, right, you give it, you need a long piece of text. So if you have many Zoom lessons, it's even better. You can extract several transcripts and give these files to ChatGPT or another tool, Claude or anything else. And then ask this tool to actually analyze your tone, extract the, the format, the genre, the kind of repeating words, like kind of identify your voice using AI through your own written text, or I think even spoken text is better. So it's very easily accessible. Just take any of your Zoom recordings and analyze your speaking. So it's very interesting. So the next step for prompt optimization is always remember to, it can be in the same document. So if you have different roles, different personas, start thinking about how and what would you like AI tool to know about your particular role, right? So if when you do research, what kind of language, what kind of field, maybe some examples of your previously published papers, or maybe some papers that you aspire and you like the style of those papers, you can say, okay, I'm in this research field and these are my exemplar style academic writing papers that I want to kind of imitate. So you can actually provide this information, right? When you are in the role of a teacher, again, you can either feed the transcripts from your Zoom lessons to show AI how you teach and what you say and how you say things. And then you can, tweak this information. How would you like AI to respond, right? Do you want AI to use humor? Or do you want AI to be sarcastic or, I don't know, provocative, or maybe not to use particular genre or particular examples or mention something. So all these can start. This is a process. It's not something you will come up easily and quickly, but you have to begin this process and begin kind of analyzing yourself, your teaching, your language for the AI then to imitate you in the best possible way. Another third step is very important and very helpful, is providing some files, some important files, some information, kind of a knowledge base. So some tools, especially when you have a paid version, actually have a special place where you upload all this knowledge, and then you don't have to do it again and again every time. But if you're using a free version, and even if you use a paid version, you can still find it useful to sometimes always go back to this important knowledge base. And I know, for example, when you teach a certain level, right, a CFR level in your EPIC course, you probably want to share the CFR level specific Kendo statements that you've chosen from the guide, from either EcoStar guide that we received from the EPIC training, or the original European CFR framework, right? The framework of reference. So any kind of documents, articles, information, files would be really, really helpful for ChatGPT to know what kind of level you're teaching. Then another really, really nice strategy that I personally use all the time, and I recommend everyone to try this. It works like magic. Number 4. Number 4 is when you have an idea, if you have a task in mind and you begin interacting, even if you skipped all the other steps, right? And you're just starting from blank, you have a task, you want AI to help you with something, and you don't have any of the other things that I just mentioned. You don't know what kind of voice, you don't know what kind of, important files you can share with ChatGPT. So how do you get, a better result? How do you build this prompt? So give it a task, tell it what you need, and then say, do not respond yet. Don't give me the answer. Don't say anything. I need you to study the attached document. If you have a document or an example, something like an example lesson, example exercise, example test or quiz or exam that you're sharing and you need to model on that, it's always good to have something attached. But even if you don't, just give it a task, say, don't respond yet, pause and ask me some clarification questions. So if you don't know where to begin and you don't want to write everything from scratch yourself, you can actually do it in a conversation mode with AI and following your task. And it, again, depending on how much information you provide within the task. So if there is a lot of information, then 5 questions maybe would be enough. But if you just give it a task, then ask for more questions. You can say, okay, I need an exam for my English students. This is a very broad, not specific prompt, a terrible prompt, but you can say, do not respond. Ask me at least, I don't know, 25 or 30 questions, clarification questions to find out everything you need to make this a proper exam. And if you stop there and say send, you will get 30 questions in a row. So another thing that I add, one at a time, right? You want to have a conversation. So one at a time, and it's going to be a nice, easy conversation. It will start asking you, what kind of students do you have? What kind of level do you teach? What kind of this? What kind of that? So you share it in a conversational, fun way. And then, you know what? At the end of this conversation, you can ask ChatGPT to summarize everything you've mentioned throughout your conversation and put it in a nice prompt. So this leads us to number 5. You can actually ask your AI tool or tools, if you use many, like as I recommend, for any suggestions or improvements or the actual prompt, right? Put it together, put a prompt together. For me, based on the information I provided. You can also start with, okay, I need an exam. Can you put a very detailed prompt and ask me any clarification questions before you do that? So think how you want to go about it, but I've tried different ways and both strategies are important and really powerful. Having AI write a better prompt for you, right? And asking AI not to rush, not to answer, not to give you answers quickly, but actually find out more and enough information to actually support you better. So refining prompts is crucial, right? You want to get that precise prompt. And this is, like I said, this is another spectrum, another side of this approach, right? So on the one hand, you can just go and say, okay, I need an email about this, I need an exam about that. Very short, very abstract, and then get into the conversation and hopefully make it better. But once you have this precise, beautiful, detailed prompts, some of the prompts that I have actually are 5 or 8 pages long. You see how like deep I go sometimes. So it's even just 1 page or 2 pages is already much better than 3 lines or 2 lines or just 1 sentence, which is very ambiguous and not clear enough. And the result will be horrible accordingly. So try to refine your prompts and get to this beautiful, long, detailed prompt and then save it in your Google Drive. You can also sometimes go creative, right? And sometimes we have this precise vision of what we want, right? And we give it a lot of details and information, but sometimes we actually want to experiment and allow AI to show its creativity or maybe wake up our own creativity, right? We want to see how creative we can get with the ideas that AI can give us. So creativity is another important aspect of prompt engineering. And I think contextualization is key because without the context, you will not get the result that you will be happy with for sure. So try to give as much context as you can. AI needs to understand the learners, your teaching goals, their learning goals, in order to provide the best possible suggestion, right? Or text or activity or whatever. The next step I recommend is actually testing your prompt in several tools, right? Even though we talk about ChatGPT and Claude, and well, at least these two are a must. Even if you only have a free account on both of these, never just use one tool, and you will be disappointed because sometimes the same prompt gives you very different results by different tools, and even in the same tool, trying it again and again will give you different results. So I do recommend experimenting with several tools. Maybe you will find out a tool that sounds more like you, right? Some people really love Claude. I discovered that it sounds better than ChatGPT for them. So you will never know if you don't try. Another piece of advice, again, remember we have a lovely folder with our different roles and personas and our polished and beautiful prompts that we have created with AI. Another document I recommend that you create in that folder, and it should be a live document, which you will constantly update, is your own list of words that you hate, right? When AI gives them to you. And you will see they will repeat sometimes. So once you have this document, this could be your knowledge base. This could be the file that you attach. Okay, whatever task you give to AI, don't use these words. So you need to have the list of the words that you don't like when AI provides a response. And again, as I said, save good prompts for future use. And thank you. I hope this is helpful. See you in the next video.